Today we're going to be learning how to use the K12 Asset Pro mobile barcode scanner. You'll sign into the scanner with the same information that you use to sign in to K12 Asset Pro on the computer. The first thing that we'll do is we'll look at how to check out and check in assets. I'm going to go ahead and click on Check Out Assets. You'll see that we can check out assets to a user, to another asset, or to a location. Most commonly, we're checking out assets to a user. That would be students or staff. But sometimes we'll also check out assets to another asset. That's usually checking out Chromebooks to a laptop charging cart. You'll notice that we can also check out assets individually or in bulk. We'll start by checking out an individual asset to an individual user. We'll go ahead and click on Check Out Asset to User. The first thing we'll do is we'll scan the asset tag of the device that we want to check out. You'll see it'll give us some summary information about this device, and then it'll ask us to select a user. We can search for a user by their first name, last name, email address, student ID number, etc. So we'll go ahead and we'll select Joe. We'll just click on Check Out Asset at the bottom, and now we're done. That asset has successfully been checked out. Let's now take a look at doing a bulk checkout. When we're doing a bulk checkout, the first thing we'll do is we'll select the user that all the assets we're about to scan are supposed to be checked out to. So we'll select Joe again, and we'll click on our Start Bulk Checkout button. You'll see now all we have to do is start scanning the asset tags of all the devices that we want to have assigned to Joe. This might be if we're assigning, for example, a classroom set of iPads to the teacher. We can just scan all the assets that we need to assign to Joe, and they'll all get checked out to him. Now let's take a look at how to check those assets back in. So we'll click on Check In Asset, and you'll see all we have to do is scan the asset tag of the device that we want to check in. It will automatically check in that device, and it will be ready and waiting for the next one to get checked in. So we can check in items very quickly here on the scanner. Next, let's take a look at adding a new asset. When we click on Add New Asset, you'll see we have all of the data fields that we might need to be adding to capture all of the relevant information for our asset here. So we'll go ahead and first we'll enter the asset tag of the item that we want to add here. And then we'll go ahead and we'll add our site and we'll add our location. That's going to be our room number. We'll give a description. So we'll go ahead and say that we're entering an iPad here. And we'll click on model and select the model number from the drop down. So it'll take just a moment to load all of our models here so we have them at our fingertips. And we'll go ahead and say that we're entering an iPad. Let's say it's an iPad A2599. We can go ahead and search for that. And we'll see that an A2599 doesn't actually exist in our system yet. So we're going to have to go ahead and add that. If it was already in our system, we'd simply select it from the model dropdown. But if we need to, we can click on Add New Model. And now we can add the relevant information for this new iPad that we're going to be adding. So we'll go ahead and we'll enter the model name and the category and the manufacturer. So we'll say this is an iPad A2955. We'll give it a category. We'll say this is technology. And we'll go ahead and enter the manufacturer for ourselves here. And we can go ahead and save that new model for ourselves. Now we can come into the model and we can go ahead and we can search for that Apple A2955 for ourselves. So we'll go ahead and we can search 2955 and we'll see that now Apple iPad A2955 is available for us. So we'll go ahead and select that. We can now go ahead and enter the serial number. We can either type in the serial number or if we have a scannable barcode, we can scan the serial number. And we can just continue to add all of the rest of the relevant information about this asset for ourselves. We can enter the purchase cost. We can enter the purchase date. We can enter PO numbers. We can enter all of the information that we need to. We'll go ahead and we'll add a funding source for this. And we'll enter anything that we can. Now, one thing we'll see is that we do actually have, if we scroll all the way down, we're able to actually take a photo of our asset here, which can be very helpful. So we can go ahead and take a photo of this iPad for ourselves if we would like. And we can take a photo of the asset right there like that, just like taking a photo with the camera on your phone. That could be especially helpful when we are saving assets, things like janitorial equipment or band equipment or kitchen equipment, where others may not necessarily know exactly what that item is. If we add a photo, if they're doing anything to help us out with our assets, it can really make it easier for them to know exactly what they're looking for. So once we've saved that asset, we can go ahead and add our next asset. Now, we can always go ahead and edit an asset as well. So if I realize that I accidentally entered the serial number wrong for that asset, I can come in here, I can scan the asset tag, I can go ahead and click on edit asset, and I can come here now and I can update my serial number. I realized that there was supposed to be a 9 at the end of this, and I can go ahead and add that 9 in and save that asset, and that now has been updated. The next thing I want to show you is how to add assets in bulk. So this is really useful if, let's say, I actually bought 50 of those new iPads and they were all purchased on the same purchase order number and they had the same purchase cost and the same purchase date. The only thing that's going to be different between them is that they'll each have their own unique asset tag and they'll each have their own serial number. So what we can do is we can go ahead and we can enter all of the information that's going to be the same for all of these assets one time right at the beginning, and then the scanner will remember that for us, so that we don't have to be entering that information over and over again, the same thing for all of those 50 iPads that we're about to enter. So we can just put in all of this information that's going to be the same for all of these items, and it's going to make our lives a lot easier. So we'll just enter some sample information in here for ourselves, and then we can go ahead and once we've completed everything that we have on the asset, we can click the Start Bulk Add button at the bottom. Now you'll see it's holding on to all of that information I entered, the purchase date and the purchase cost. All of this information the scanner is going to hold on, so I don't need to re-enter it. The only thing it's now waiting for is my asset tag number and my serial number. So I can go ahead and I can scan my first asset tag, and then I can enter my next serial number, which I can type in, or if I have a scannable serial number barcode, I can go ahead and scan that barcode, and it will automatically save that asset for me. You'll see after it's saved that asset, it's still holding on to all of that base level information for me, so I don't need to enter any of that again. I can simply go ahead and scan my next asset tag, enter my next serial number, and it will save, and I can scan my next asset tag and my next serial number, and it will save, and my next asset tag and my next serial number, and it will save. And you get the idea about how quickly we can now get all 50 of those iPads entered into our system for ourselves here. Now, we can also edit assets in bulk as well. So if I realize that I entered all those as the description was iPad, but I actually want to call those an iPad Pro, I can go ahead and I can bulk update all those assets for myself. And let's say I also realize that the purchase cost should have been $1,100, not $1,000. Any information that I want to bulk edit on a bunch of assets, I can enter in here. Anything I want to leave blank will not be updated for any asset. So I will only be updating the information where I have added new data in for myself. So if I only enter a new asset description and a new purchase cost and I click the Start Bulk Edit button, you'll see the only data here that's going to get updated for any of the assets I scan will be the asset description and the purchase cost. So now I can go ahead and just start scanning any assets that I want to do that bulk edit to, and the only thing that will be updated for those assets is the description and that purchase cost. Everything else for those assets is going to remain untouched. So that's a nice way to go edit assets in bulk. The next thing I'll show you is how to transfer assets. This is simply used for moving assets from one location to another. So if we're moving assets from one school to another, or just from one room to another room within the same school, we can go ahead and do a transfer. We'll simply just set the destination site and the destination location for the assets. We'll start our transfer, and you'll see that it's going to hold on to that location information for me. So now all I need to do is just start scanning the asset tags of the assets I'm moving. And it doesn't matter if the first thing I scan is an iPad, and then I scan a computer, and then maybe I scan an interactive panel, and then I scan a tuba. The only thing that's going to be getting updated for these assets is the location. Nothing else will be changed. So I could just scan any of the assets that are going to be getting put into that new location. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to do an inventory audit on the scanner. This often only happens once or sometimes twice a year, but the audit is used for checking that we know exactly where everything in the school is and that everything can still be located. So we'll go ahead and click on audit, and we'll see that we have two types of audit for ourselves here. We've got a standard audit and a quick audit. They're both very similar, so I'll start off with the standard audit. When I click on audit, it's going to ask me to enter the site and the location that I am starting my audit in. So what I'll basically do is tell the scanner where I'm starting my inventory audit. I'll walk into that room and I'll scan every asset tag that I can find. And the scanner is going to do two things for me when I do that. The first, it's going to record the time and date that I've scanned those assets, so we have that information for our reporting. The other thing it's going to do is it will automatically update the location of the asset for me. So wherever I am scanning it, we know that that's exactly where it is today. And so the scanner is going to automatically update the location to that room for us. So we do not need to do a secondary process to make sure our rooms are correct. When we do an inventory audit, it will automatically ensure that all our schools and rooms are correct for our assets. Now, the other nice thing that we could do on the scanner here is we could have what I like to call our little cheat sheet here. And when we scroll down, it's going to show us a list of all of the different assets that are expected to be in this room. Now, you'll see that we have some items that have green dates here and some items that have red dates here. Those are the last audit dates for those items. So a green item is an asset that has been audited recently, and a red date means that asset is overdue for an audit. So we can go ahead and use those dates to kind of get a sense of everything that we've audited so far in this room. Now, if we are looking at an asset and we're not quite sure exactly what that asset is, I can go ahead and tap on it. So I can go ahead and tap on that 3D printer for myself, and it's going to pull me up a little picture and some information about that item. So if I'm looking for an item in a room and I'm not sure exactly what it means, and someone took a photo of it like we spoke about earlier, that can be really helpful for ourselves. So we can pretend like we walked into this room and we went and we scanned all the barcodes that we could find, and we're about to leave the room, and we come and scroll down and look at what I call our little cheat sheet down here, and we see that we still have one item in red here. And we realize there's an LCD projector expected to be in this room, and we completely forgot to look up. There, in fact, is an LCD projector hanging from the ceiling of the room. So we can go back and we can go ahead and scan that asset tag for ourselves. Now, once we scan that asset tag, it's going to pull up a little bit of summary information about that asset. And we'll see if we do need to edit anything, we have an edit button right there. So if we needed to edit a serial number or a condition or anything like that, we've got that button right there and we can go ahead and perform that edit. But most of the time, we'll just simply be clicking Save Audit. It will let us know with a big green check mark that it's successfully been saved. And we'll see that now that LCD projector has today's date in green, so we know we've inventoried it. Now let's go back and take a look at our quick audit. Quick audit is very similar. We still tell the scanner exactly where we're doing our inventory audit. The main difference is when I scan an asset tag from the audit, it does not pull up that little bit of summary information. It just automatically gives me the green check mark and says that it has been successfully audited, and we can move on to the next one. So this is designed for just very rapidly getting through an inventory audit if we don't feel like we need to edit any of the information, or we don't need to double check the information about the items that we've just scanned. So this could be very helpful, especially when we're doing things like a media center or Chromebook carts, where we don't necessarily need to check the information for each asset individually. Now, if we're going through and doing our inventory audit and we scan an asset tag of an item that's not in our system, it could be that we just accidentally scanned a serial number instead of an asset tag, in which case we can click cancel. But again, it's just this little warning that says asset tag does not exist. Would you like to add a new asset? If it really is the right asset tag and it's simply just not in our system yet, we can go ahead and click the add button, and you'll see that now we can go ahead and add all of the information that we need to about this asset. Our site and location are already pre-filled in for us because the scanner knows exactly where we were when we scanned this, but we'll still have to go ahead and add the rest of the information for the scanner here. Now, this inventory audit function is also a good way if we're just walking around with our barcode scanner and we want to select a room and get a sense of everything that's expected to be in that room. Even if we're not doing an inventory audit, the cheat sheet is still a nice little way to be able to check and get a list on our mobile barcode scanner of everything that's expected to be in that room. The next thing I want to show you is how to retag an asset. So if we need to change the asset tag that's on an asset, maybe it's getting scratched and worn off, maybe the asset tag is starting to peel, we can go ahead and retag the asset. Before we retag the asset, it is going to give us this warning just to make sure we're sure that we want to retag the asset. If we are, we can go ahead and click on the yes button. and it's just going to ask us for the asset tag that we want to retag. So we'll go ahead and we can scan our asset tag here for ourselves. We'll just go ahead and we can scan any asset tag that we want to be retagging. So I'll scan that one and I'll say retag. It's going to pull up some summary information about that asset for ourselves so we can just make sure that we're retagging the right asset. And then we can go ahead and we can simply enter the information for the new asset tag that we're going to be adding onto that item. Click our little check mark, hit the retag button, and we're done. And now that asset has been assigned a new asset tag. The last thing I'll show you is our asset list. So our asset list is designed here for looking up assets on the go. So we could do this by, for example, we could enter an asset tag number and look up all the information about that asset tag if we want to. Or another really good use for this is looking up assets by serial number. So for example, if I search a serial number here, it can go ahead and pull up the asset tag for me. So if I ever find an asset where a student has pulled off the asset tag and I want to look up what the original asset tag was, I can look it up by serial number. And then if I'm going to put a new asset tag on it, I also know what that starting asset tag was, so I can go ahead and perform my retag. Those are all the main functions on the barcode scanner. Once you're done using the barcode scanner, if you want to log out so that another user can log back in, you'll simply go ahead and click on the gear icon in the upper right-hand corner, and you'll see that at the bottom we have a logout button. You'll also see that for support, you can email us at support@divotassets.com. Again, that is support@divotassets.com. We have a great support team who are here ready to help and assist you. And we love when we hear from our customers. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have any questions at all. You can always reach out to us at support@divotassets.com. And we will gladly hop on the phone with you, hop on a Zoom screen share with you, trade emails, whatever we need to do to make sure that you have all the information you need to use K12 Asset Pro to its fullest. Thank you so much for taking a look at this video.